What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Got a lot to talk about on the show today. Obviously, Arkansas losing to Mississippi State 40-17 in Starkville. Very disappointing showing. We'll talk about that, and we're going to have Danny West come on, talk a little bit about football, talk some recruiting as well. Andrew Ellis also going to jump in for his comments on the game. All that and more on today's episode of Hog Sports Live. And before we get started, I want to remind you there's plenty of ways to watch and listen. You can always tune in on Facebook Live. Be sure to follow the page with 90,000 other Razorback fans if you haven't done so already. Throw us a thumbs up on this video if you're enjoying it. Also available on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page, go ahead and do that and hit the notifications bell so you're alerted anytime we upload new videos. We're also available on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't thrown us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'd love to have that from you. Say something nice about the show. Let others know what you think about it, what they can expect from the show as well. Also available on Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere else you think of to find your favorite podcast. HawgSports is just $1 right now for your first month at HawgSports.com. Third time's a charm. So if this is your first time tuning in, this is the third time we had to restart the show. The reason I had to start last time because the power on my Mac drained all the way down. It didn't recognize that the power was plugged in. It was plugged in, but it didn't recognize it, so we had to reboot and restart over and everything. And when it does that, it just makes everything just slow down dramatically. We're not ready to talk basketball yet, but 24/7 Sports came out with its basketball rankings, and Arkansas is number 6 heading into the preseason with the number 2 ranked recruiting class in the country. Obviously, should be a really exciting basketball season, but we're not quite ready yet because there's still plenty to talk about with Razorback football, although it was really disappointing. And I'm right there. I thought they were going to lose going into the game because they don't have KJ, but I still felt – even if they had KJ, I thought it was going to be a tough game just because so many issues they're going to have, they're having on the back end. And we'll get into that more. Obviously, Arkansas plays BYU at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Don't want to get anybody confused on the time changes. 2:30 p.m. Central Time on an ESPN, and that is BYU minus 2.5. That's 1:30 Mountain Time where the game is. You haven't been able to count on me, but at least you can count on OzarksGo. If you have OzarksGo, everybody, then you don't have to worry about your internet speeds or anything. That's one thing I knew when something was going wrong here on the first edition of the show. I was like, well, I know it's not my internet because I've never had a problem with them, but it was the computer draining down to zero battery. So if you don't have OzarksGo, I suggest you check them out. You can go to OzarksGo.net/hog. That's HAWG, and you find out if they're available in your area. Think north of the tunnel in northwest Arkansas, and think if you have Ozarks Electric, then you probably can get it. Eastern Oklahoma has it as well. But the thing I like about these guys is I never have to worry about my internet. Never once have I had to go up and unplug it and plug it back in and tell everybody to wait and let's see if that works. Never. They came in and installed it, and I never heard from them again. So go to OzarksGo.net/hog, HAWG, and you can find out more about OzarksGo. See if it's available in your area. There's an icon up there you can click on, menu drop down on mobile. You can see if it's available in your area. But the good thing about those guys, too, they're not going to try to get you in on some super low price and then jack your rate up the next year. Your first year, what you pay is going to be the same as the next year you're going to pay, and you're just going to get great service, same upload and download speed. They offer a gigabit, which is 1,000 megabits per second up and down, which I have. Fantastic. They also offer 100 megabits per second, which is also really good. And it's 100 up and down also. So go check out our friends at OzarksGo. Certainly appreciate them. And I've had them for over a year before I ever started talking about them. So I speak from experience. And I've had several others that I wasn't quite satisfied with. All right. This game. Certainly disappointing. I mean, first of all, if you didn't watch the walk and talk, you should go watch the walk and talk because I give a lot of my immediately after impressions on the game. But I knew they were probably going to start Cade Fortin. I knew KJ was almost certainly going to be out just because of the nature of the injury. I've never seen somebody come back that was injured in a game and play the next week. So I knew he was probably going to be out, almost certainly. I knew they were probably going to make the mistake of starting Cade Fortin. It's nothing against Cade Fortin. It's just that I knew, when they put him up on the board, he's going to know everything. He's going to know where to go to the ball. He's a senior. He's been around the block and all that stuff. He's Hasn't played a lot of football, but he's been on a lot of football teams, been in college a long time. So I kind of had a feeling like when it comes to passing and throwing the ball where it needs to go and knowing which receiver to hit and all that kind of stuff, he was going to do all that stuff in practice. But then you've got a guy like Malik who is just a gamer who would have been the best decision to start. And I feel like they wasted a lot of opportunities in the first half going with the wrong quarterback. Having said that, if Malik started the whole game, I still don't think they would have won this game just because Arkansas is struggling so badly on defense. Not only have they lost their best player on defense in Jalen Catalon, they also, Bumper Pool is not playing very well just because he's banged up and injured. It's been clear to me for a while that Bumper Pool is not playing at the same level that we've seen him at, and he's just gutting it out. He's probably still their best option there at linebacker, and so you've got him banged up, you've got Catalon banged up. You look at the back end, and you've got Hudson Clark playing middle safety, who should probably be at cornerback. I kind of thought maybe this is a move that could work out too, but Hudson he's not stout enough really to be. And I kind of thought maybe Malik Chavis may make more sense at safety since he's played it before. Why not maybe move him there and keep Hudson Clark at corner? I don't know. I'm sure they know what they're doing, but that defense is going to give up a lot of passing yards. The trick has got to be to keep them in front of you, tackle well, and when they throw you opportunities, you need to turn those into interceptions. And they did that really 3 times, maybe 4, but I think really 3 times that they absolutely could have had interceptions, twice in the end zone. And those are, game-changing type plays. Swing the whole momentum of the game. I never felt like Arkansas really grasped the momentum. Even when they, scored 10 unanswered, I never feel like they just took the momentum. I never feel like, the fire on defense, the energy, like, where was that? Where, somebody makes a play. There wasn't a lot of them. Somebody makes a play and, at least – tapping them on the helmet, getting fired up, getting jacked up for your teammate. I just felt like they would, make a tackle and then walk back to their position and get lined up. And I don't know. I just didn't feel like there was ever any energy there. That's my opinion on it. So I'm not sure that there's a whole lot they could have done. I would have probably stuck to the things that I do well, and that's, rushing guys like Drew Sanders and Jordan Dominic, letting them get after the quarterback. Because Will Rogers, I think, was touched maybe one time. And so if you're going to give up a bunch of passing yards, they gave up, 395 passing yards. You're going to give up a lot of yards anyway. For the offense, it's hard for me to, first of all, everybody wants to fire everybody. I get it. Everybody's emotional and they're pissed. Trust me, I get it. I understand. Firing the whole staff and everything isn't the answer. And especially it annoys me to see some of that stuff about Sam Pittman, the guy who pulled Arkansas out of the hell that they were in. Arkansas doesn't have the depth to sustain injuries like this. They're not Alabama, and it's been real unfortunate. And you like to say, yeah, next man up, but sometimes it's just not the case. Sometimes it's just it's not as easy as it's not as easy as it sounds. With Kendall Browse, they moved the ball on offense. They put up 483 yards. They couldn't get in the end zone. I didn't like the idea of passing the ball on either of those 2 rollouts that they ran on those 4th and shorts. I think they could have just run the ball, twice, and yeah, they got stuffed, but I think eventually they would have gotten into the end zone. Probably because you'd had 2 chances. You're at the half-yard line on one of those. So coming away with no points on 2 trips to the red zone, that's 14 points right there that you just lost. That just evaporates. And there are some others. Obviously, not having your quarterback, you look a whole lot different on offense with KJ Jefferson in there versus trying to figure out who's the starting quarterback, or, in the game, and all the other issues they're dealing with. So, a lot of injuries on defense. I'm not sure that there was really an answer, but I would have liked to have seen him come after the quarterback. LSU got 4 sacks for 34 yards. And they beat them. That was the last time that Mississippi State lost. So, disappointing. The whole thing. Listening to those damn cowbells. I don't understand why, if you're a fan, why wouldn't you just be like, man, maybe we should not do that. Maybe we should just yell like everybody else instead of this annoying clanging sound that we do. And they still ring the bells during the game, when the center's over the ball. They still do it. I don't know why the SEC lets them. I don't know. I think it's so stupid that they're allowed to bring artificial noise and nobody else is. Can everybody just start bringing? Maybe everybody should start bringing artificial, just those horns. Just bring the horns. If they get to do it, just make sure you stop doing it when the center goes over the ball. I don't know why they get special treatment on that, but that's not the reason that they won the game. It just it makes the game annoying to watch and be at and all that stuff. So up next, BYU, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday, October 15th. We'll talk about BYU here a little bit. And then you get a bye week, which is much needed. Auburn, at Auburn. Auburn's struggling. I mean, they got a game. They play Ole Miss this week. They lose that one. They may be coaching with a new head coach. Then it's Liberty in Fayetteville, LSU in Fayetteville, Ole Miss in Fayetteville. This is a stretch where if Arkansas can get healthier, they may have to put up a lot of points, but that's a stretch. At Auburn, Liberty at home, LSU at home, Ole Miss at home. Ole Miss is going to be tough, and LSU is too. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not going to be hard games, but they are in Fayetteville, and that makes a difference. And then you're at Missouri, and Missouri showed it could hang with Georgia a little bit. That was surprising. That was 2 weeks ago, but I mean, these are all games individually. You look at them that Arkansas can win. Fire everybody. Fire everybody. Malik Hornsby's staying at quarterback, by the way. They're going to quit doing all that stuff with him at wide receiver. They're just going to let him stay at quarterback. All right. Let's get to Danny. Super late. Sorry, Danny. Show did not go as planned, just like a lot of things with Arkansas this week.
What's up?
Nothing's up, Danny. What's up with you?
Well, you sound great. You're in a great mood, ain't you?
Well, I had to start the show 3 times. I'm already a little, perturbed just the way things are going, state of the program, all that stuff. But it's always lovely to talk to you, Danny.
Well, thank you. I'm doing pretty good myself, man. Hey, don't forget it's our favorite time of the year. There's still a lot of good things going on. So, man, I went hunting Saturday morning. I'll spare you all the details, but just being in the woods, I say it every year, man. This time of year, Northwest Arkansas, you got a chance. You don't even have to hunt. Just walk around the woods, man. You'll be surprised. You feel a lot better.
Okay, maybe I'll take a walk in the woods then.
Yeah, walk and talk in the woods. There you go.
There you go. So, Danny, I hate to start you with some more bad news after that, but Arkansas got a decommitment, Braylon Russell. A lot of people say they saw that one coming. For those who don't know, he's a 4-star running back in the class of 2024, just a junior in high school. But obviously you never like to see a decommitment. Yeah, not really surprised by it either. I was thinking back, I want to say a few months ago, Trey, you and I were kind of talking off the record, and I think I mentioned then that, it would surprise me. I think there's going to be some ups and downs, some peaks and valleys with that recruitment. A lot of people still coming after him. Ole Miss, Tennessee, both of which are, top 10 at the moment, when Arkansas is on a little bit of a slide there. So, the timing of it, maybe a little bit rough for you after that 3-game losing streak. So, if anything, I might have been surprised that maybe it didn't happen sooner. Saw him at the Alabama game on the sideline, seemed to be having a really good time. But, they're going to stay on him. They're not going to stop recruiting Braylon. He's too good, and he's in the state, so you can't give up on it. But let him take his time, reconfigure, I guess, and maybe take some other trips. But, I think they're in a pretty good spot with Jimmy Smith there, man. I think he's kind of earned the benefit of the doubt. I think they're always going to sign a quality running back. We saw him headed out of the park in this year's class when people didn't know who Isaiah was, the kid out of Florida, August Dave. He was a 3-star, kind of flying under the radar. Arkansas gets his commitment. Next thing you know, he's number 15 running back in the country, just skyrocketed. So Braylon might have committed he might have committed way too early too. I mean, he was just a sophomore. Maybe I think even before all the NIL stuff came out, maybe he was like, maybe I want to see what restructure my deal or something here.
Yeah. I tell you, you never know nowadays. But that was a really early commitment, kind of out of nowhere too. Last November, maybe Mississippi State game. Got in the truck, after the game, headed home and started seeing texts and all this stuff that he's committed. And I was like, man, the 24 kid, that's a little bit early, I remember thinking. So, yeah, there's still plenty of time left, so they'll be okay. But do want to mention Kawan Lacey. He's a guy I really like. I want you to check him out yourself, but I think you'll like him. 5'10", 200 out of Lancaster, Texas. He's a pretty good one. And, he recently visited. So for the Alabama game, he got offered after that visit. So Kawan Lacey might be a guy to keep your eye on.
Danny West joining us. Again, you can follow him at DannyWest247 on Twitter. He is a HawgSports recruiting analyst. Danny, I want to read you this from Apple Podcast. This is from Covington Buzzkill. He leaves us a 5-star review, and if you haven't left us a 5-star review, then you should do so. He says, other than the actual games, there's nothing I would rather have than Trey and Danny whispering sweet Razorback talk into my ears. It's an unbiased, unfiltered, unabated, and sometimes it's tough to swallow. However, it's always the truth. Trey is hard to look at. I don't understand. Like, I've got a couple, like Trey's got a face for radio. Trey's hard to look at. Trey is hard to look at, but easy to listen to, and that's why I chose to listen to his podcast. Here's why I think he may be being facetious.
What a buzzkill, by the way.
He says Danny could be a supermodel, and we know that's not true, so obviously this guy's just joking around. But thankfully, he graces my ears with the most up-to-date and insightful recruiting info out there. Subscribe and listen. You won't be disappointed. Appreciate that, Covington Buzzkill on Apple Podcast.
That is not a buzzkill. I appreciate that. Thank you. Checks in the mail.
All right, Danny. Well, what are your thoughts on the state of this program right now? I know you've got, people think you're just a recruiting guy, but you're so much more than that. And we haven't really talked. Usually we will talk after a game, but we didn't even really talk after this one. It's just kind of wanted to put it to bed and get over it.
I'll be honest with you, man. I said last week I didn't like it, didn't feel good about it at all, Trey. I was not joking. I almost went with like 45-17 as a prediction. And then I said, let's ease up a little bit, swing a touchdown the other way maybe. But man, I never felt good about it. So I think my point is it's easier to not be as upset when you kind of think that's coming. I could hear the cowbells last Tuesday. It felt like it seemed like one of those games that's never going to go your way from the start. And it turns out it felt that way. But man, if we've learned one thing over the last few years across all three major sports, it's that you can't write them off too soon. I think they've gone through a really rough stretch, a really unfortunate stretch with certain injuries. I mean, their two number ones both got hurt in some capacity. They lost Jalen super early, lost KJ for a really important road game in his home state. That's tough. I mean, that's all you could say about it. That's tough luck. And among other injuries too, but those two certainly stick out. But I think once they get healthy, and getting KJ back is a big deal, I think they can go win this thing this week. BYU's tough. They're always tough. They're never, flashy. They're always just solid, strong at the line of scrimmage. But Arkansas, I think, can run the ball against them this week. It wouldn't shock me if they go out there and get back on the winning track this week.
They give up like 172 rushing yards a game. So a healthy KJ Jefferson, back with them, obviously a lot of good things can happen. And as bad as this defense is, I don't know that BYU has the same level of athlete.
I'm with you.
As Mississippi State and of course Alabama, obviously. So, the numbers that I don't like though. When we talk about the yardage and all that stuff. What I don't like about what Arkansas did in this last game is 10 and 84. That's 10 penalties for 84 yards and losses. I don't like 0 for 3 on on fourth down, particularly when some of those come on. Come in the red zone at the goal line. Arkansas was 8 of 16 on third down. That's not a bad third down conversion percentage. Especially Mississippi State was 5 of 13. They were 3 of 5 on fourth down though. And
the game within the game, right? I mean, they're going for 4th and 3 backed up with a running play on their own 31, and you get down there deep in the red zone and suddenly you get a little bit cute. And, no, man, line up and see if you can do what they just did to you. That type of stuff over the course of a game psychologically, I think would have some impact on you. I mean, they're pushing you after the whistle. Don't just take that. Like, I'm not saying go get a 15-yarder, but don't get punked like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, you got to be football is an edgy game, and you got to be on edge to play it, no question. And I did feel like there was a little bit of fire that was missing, but also it's hard to manufacture that out of nothing. And you get stopped in in the red zone on 4th down, and you just have some things happen to you like that. It's hard to get that momentum swing. That's why when you get the momentum, you got to do everything you can to keep it, because it's such a big part of college football.
Yeah. 9 pass breakups, Trey. Stat of the week for you, I guess. They had 15 pass breakups going into that game.
Yeah.
Put up 9. So that's a pretty good improvement. Now, some of that's got to do a whole lot to do with who you play. They're going to throw it almost 60 times, but that was a good start. They were in position. Mm-hmm. Could have had a few interceptions there, so maybe that's one step in the right direction. Maybe. We'll see.
Need to catch some interceptions when they're thrown to you.
Yeah,
all right,
put
Danny.
them on the ball machine. We'll see you next week.
You got anything else? All right, brother. Appreciate you.
We'll see you.
All right, everybody. That's Danny West. Again, follow Danny at Danny West 24/7. He's the HawgSports recruiting analyst and has been for a really long time, and we keep him around because he does such a good job. All right, we're going to hop over to Andrew Ellis now. Andrew covers Razorback basketball, baseball, football, does a little bit of everything for us. Andrew, how you doing, man?
I'm doing just wonderful, Trey. How are you?
Well, that's surprising that you're doing so well. I figured you'd be a little bit kind of down in the dumps like everybody else in Arkansas this week.
Well, I thought you were going to chirp me for my game prediction. I thought that's where you were going with that. But you know what? I'm just going to get it right out in front of this story now. First and foremost, this was I texted Curtis this at like 11:45 p.m. the night before. I was like, you know what? I just have a random gut feeling. I had typed out my whole thing about them losing. I had it like 31-21 or something like that, and had the whole. And I was just, this is going to be a tough game for Arkansas to win. And then I don't know what came over me. I just had a gut feeling. I was like, you know what? I think KJ is going to end up playing in this game, and they're going to win. This is going to be, back against the wall. Arkansas is going to do it.
You were just telling yourself lies. You were laying there lying to yourself.
That's exactly what I was doing. And I was lying to Curtis Wilkerson, and he was telling me I was lying to myself. But it is what it is. But anyways, I don't, the problem with me even saying that, I picked it thinking KJ might play is I don't think KJ makes up 24 points. I think it would have been a closer game, and I think they would have had a much better chance, obviously. But as we saw Saturday, the issues run much deeper than the quarterback position. And, it's going to be interesting to see. This is going to be a huge week for Arkansas just to kind of see how they bounce back. And I know we say it every week because they've been losing these last few weeks to kind of see how they respond. But, I hate when people throw around terms like must win and that they have to win this one. And I'm not saying that. But if you're Arkansas, this has to be the time where your character and just where you're at as a program shows up this weekend. This is where, you're banged up. You're on a 3-game losing streak. Things aren't going your way. Like, whatever the best version of Arkansas is from an effort and from a physicality standpoint, I think it has to show up this weekend. It just has to. And I get it. That's hard to do because you're going to have maybe a few guys out in the secondary and things like that. You're still behind the 8 ball from an injury standpoint. But, whatever it is, we just got to see Arkansas's best punch. And I think it's time for them to start throwing them.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with that. I don't agree with your 31-30 prediction, obviously. So for those who don't know what we were talking about, Andrew's done a good job predicting, but he went off the rails a little bit on this one and picked Arkansas to win 31-30. Curtis, I think, also had Arkansas covering, but had Mississippi State winning. And then Danny and I, of course, had Mississippi State covering and winning, obviously. The two veteran guys knew what to expect, I guess.
You know what? I'll take this one. I picked them to win. It is what it is. Like, I also just was looking at the numbers, and I was like, if we all pick them to cover, and we're just going to end up tied the whole year, maybe I'll end up first place on the leaderboard this week. So I was like, you know what? I'll just do it. And, it didn't work out.
You rolled the dice, tried to make a name for yourself because I bump the leader up to the top of the predictions board every time. So you're unfortunately going to be at the bottom this week. You're going to have to dig yourself out of it, Andrew.
My PR team let me down, for sure.
So, Andrew, have you looked at this BYU game any?
I have not a ton. I watched them whenever they played Baylor. I watched that game a decent amount, and I was kind of keeping up. I was kind of keeping up with the Notre Dame game, but not a ton. I'll really dive into it later this week. But as you guys have mentioned, Arkansas should have a decent advantage when it comes to running the ball, and really just from a physicality standpoint with their offense, they should be able to kind of control the game there, which we've seen them do pretty much against every defense they faced other than Mississippi State this past weekend. And, Sam Pittman talked about the frustrations with the offensive line. And so I'd be surprised if we didn't see a much better performance from Arkansas offensively, especially if you get KJ Jefferson back. But I just think the offensive linemen, they just have to impose their will in this game. And, we can, later in the week, I'll get to look at the details and kind of see what they have. I know they just got their two of their top receivers back this weekend. And, Jaron Hall's a good quarterback. I've watched him a lot. There's still going to be a lot of question marks for Arkansas to answer. But, the thing I'm just most interested to see is just how they set the tone offensively. And Pittman talked about how they want to start fast, and they might even ask to receive the ball so they can kind of get something going offensively and get some, because they've fallen behind these last couple of weeks.
I would rather – I heard him – I was obviously at the press conference. I heard him say that. I wish that they do not do that. I still think –
I'm with you there. When he said it, I was kind of like, I don't know if that's the right decision there. But I'm one of those that just I'd rather have the ball at the start of the second half, and I think most would. And I think, he probably agrees there too. He was just kind of pointing to that he wants them to have some momentum early in the game, and I agree with him. And so that's kind of just the biggest thing I'm looking for, aside from any other matchups of how does Arkansas's receivers match up with their DBs or their receivers versus Arkansas's whatever. I just want to see Arkansas kind of come out and set the tone offensively and kind of see where KJ Jefferson's at with his health. I'm assuming he's going to kind of work his way back, and kind of just want to see Arkansas offensively take it to these guys. And they obviously have the capability of doing it, and on the road they're going to have to be physical, and it'll be fun to watch, and it should be a really good environment there too.
Yeah, Andrew Ellis joining us again. You can follow Andrew at Andrew Ellis 24/7. He covers all aspects of Arkansas sports: baseball, basketball, obviously football. Anything else you want to report on, Andrew? Going on? I know you've watched some scrimmages with baseball, and obviously basketball is red-white games right around the corner now.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to that red-white game. The thing I'm not looking forward to is the fact that it's in Barnhill Arena, because last year the internet just went out on us, and so I'm not too excited about that, although it is really cool to be in that arena. And
they probably don't have OzarksGo. They're probably not using OzarksGo.
They probably haven't been watching the show and hearing your ad reads. But, so I'm looking forward to that red and white game, though. It's going to be really fun to kind of watch this team, the basketball team, grow and evolve over the year and kind of see, what all the – it'll be – I know we got to see them on the foreign tour, but this red-white game will be a good time for fans to kind of see what they have and kind of start to fall in love with, how the red-white game is. You watch the ninth man hit 4 threes and you talk yourself into him being the best player on the team and stuff like that. It's about to be that time of year for basketball, so that's really fun. And, the baseball team also has a really interesting – randomly 2 weeks ago, Coach Van Horn randomly told the media that they were playing the Texas Rangers instructional team in October, and it's going to be this week, Wednesday and Thursday. The game will be free for fans to attend, but that's going to be really kind of fun to watch because Arkansas hasn't played outside competition in fall ball since, I believe, the 2019 fall. So it'll be kind of cool to see Arkansas go up against. What is
that? The Texas Rangers instructional team?
The press release was about as vague as what I said was, where it was like, it's people in the Texas Rangers organization, ages 17 to 24, just kind of, the professional players for them that they're trying to develop. I'm sure it's a lot of international guys who have just signed with their rookie teams and stuff like that, and maybe a few guys who have been drafted recently. But it's going to be, I guess, a professional team, but kind of not a real team. But it's just going to be a bunch of young professional players playing against Arkansas. And, like I said, it's going to be kind of cool to see Arkansas play against another team. Won't be on TV, won't be streamed or anything, but admission is going to be free in Baum-Walker Stadium, and should be pretty fun.
Yeah, sounds like it. All right, Andrew. Anything else to add?
I think I'm all good. Hopefully my prediction goes better this week, and we'll see how it goes.
It has to go better this week. There's no other option.
Hey, it happens.
It does. All right, Andrew. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, thank you.
All right, Andrew Ellis again, at Andrew Ellis 24/7. Just busting his chops a little bit there. Andrew does a really good job, but he was kind of feeling it. That maybe things could change this week. I think everybody was. I mean, everybody who may have gone into the game predicting a loss for Arkansas, you're still just as irate as it unfolds in front of you, expecting them or, hoping that they would do better and stuff. And this was my first game to watch at home on TV this season. I didn't go to Starkville, so obviously it's a different viewing experience, and I don't let anybody else. I was in my office just over here. Nobody else is. I'm just not fun. I'm not a fun person to watch a game with. So, all right, let's look at BYU real quick. Obviously, we're turning the page to them. They opened up against South Florida, won 50-21, then beat Baylor 26-20 in 2 overtimes. Watched that game. Lost to Oregon 41-20, beat Wyoming 38-24, beat Utah State 38-26, and then just lost in Las Vegas this past weekend to Notre Dame 28-20. That game was on NBC. I watched a good bit of that game. And then, of course, Saturday, October 15th, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, Arkansas versus BYU at Lavelle Edwards Stadium in Provo, Utah. Game is on ESPN. Look at the stats real quick for BYU. BYU scoring offense, 32 points a game, 418.2 yards per game. So they're good. Good on offense from a number standpoint. 264 passing yards per game. Solid number. 153 rushing yards per game. Okay. Not great, not bad. Just kind of middle of the pack, especially with their passing offense. Scoring defense, 26.7 points a game allowed. Not too bad. 362 yards per game allowed. Okay. Not awful, not great. Pass defense has been strong, only allowing 190 yards per game. Rushing defense is allowing 172 yards per game. That may be the matchup for Arkansas, especially with having KJ Jefferson back. Jaron Hall, quarterback, 129 of 188 passing. That's 68.6% for 1,558 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. It's a 160.7 efficiency rating. So good numbers for Jaron Hall. Their best runner is Christopher Brooks, 63 carries for 384 yards, 6.1 yards to carry, 5 touchdowns, averaging 64 rushing yards per game. Top receiver, Keanu Hill, 17 catches for 334 yards. They also have Cody Epps with 25 catches for 298 yards. Hill has 4 touchdown catches and Epps has 5. So those are top receivers. Braden Cosper also another quality receiver for him. Ben Bywater is their leading tackler, followed by Max Tooley. Those guys have 46 and 42 tackles, respectively. Top sack guy, John Nelson. They don't get to the quarterback a lot. He only has 2 sacks as their leader. All right, let's get to some questions. Get your questions in if you haven't done so already. Again, I want to thank our sponsors over at OzarksGo. If you have not thought about trying internet and you're disappointed with your internet, then you should check out the guys at OzarksGo. They came and installed internet at my house over a year ago before I even started doing these promos, and I never thought about them again. Never had to plug and unplug. If you're somebody, maybe you're not as familiar with technology and stuff, and your internet goes in and out, and you've got somebody that you call, let me call my internet guy. You should not be having an internet guy. You should just have OzarksGo and not ever worry about it. Just have all your stuff work, all your devices, never get in an argument with your kids. I don't know, honey, the internet's not working. Let me go unplug it and plug it back in. No, never had to do any of that stuff with OzarksGo. They offer a gigabit service, which is 1,000 megabits per second up and down. That's basically instant. It's basically instant. Also offer 100 megabits per second. They're not going to try to hook you with some low price and then jack your rates up the next year. Your rate's going to be the same the first year as it is the second year. Okay? Same speed uploading. If you like to upload a lot of stuff, you're going to have great speed uploading. It's not just download speed. So, great service, OzarksGo. Go to OzarksGo.net/HAWG. Again, that's OzarksGo with an S. OzarksGo.net/HAWG. And you can find out if they're available in your area north of the tunnel in northwest Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma as well. All right, questions. We had a hard time getting this show started, man. We're a little late starting because my battery ran low on my computer and it went to like a power saving mode. It didn't recognize that it was plugged in, and that makes all my devices and apps and stuff just like really work poorly. But we rebooted, made sure to recognize that it was powered up, and we're charging. Yep, we're at 25%. So we were at 1%. So it was going to shut off It was just going to shut the whole computer down. Timothy David Long says, I believe we can win out. By the way, happy birthday to Landon Montgomery. I see you on there. Landon says, Trey, thank you for the birthday wishes, big dog. You gained a new top fan in my wife. That's good. I appreciate that, Landon. Glad you like the birthday wish. Timothy David Long says, I believe we can win out if we can get healthy and stay healthy along. Staying healthy is going to be tough, along with going in with that Arkansas Razorback mentality, I believe. Also, what bowl do you project for the Hogs at this point? CBS came out with a bowl projection. It's kind of gotten like a little bit lower and lower. I mean, you started off with maybe a New Year's Six type, and then next thing you know, you're Citrus, then Gator, then Music City. I don't know. I'm not ready to talk about bowl season yet. They got to get some things on track. So, but they can beat every team on the schedule individually. They need to get healthy. They need to get Miles Slusher back. That'd be a key. I mean, if they could get Miles Slusher back, if Bumper Pool could get healthier, obviously keeping KJ Jefferson. Will Bonham says, hey, Trey, how does Arkansas do with NIL deals for players? Does Walmart contribute at all? I don't know that Walmart puts their name behind any specific player or anything. There are some maybe vendors and stuff that do stuff through Walmart, but I think they do probably about what everybody else does. I don't know what the numbers are. They're all private, so I don't know what the numbers are. I mean, the real thing that people are doing now is the collectives where the boosters all get together and raise money and do it that way. So Mike Russell says, they've got to revise it. They've got to do some kind of structuring of it or something because I don't know. It's also secretive feeling. I don't know. Mike Russell says, what do we have to do to win? And I know some people that sponsor athletes and stuff, but like restaurants and things like that. I know what they pay, but I don't want to put their information out there. Mike Russell says, what do we have to do to win? I think we will have a new secondary coaches. I mean, new secondary coaches ain't going to matter if that's the secondary players that he's got. It's just not. Okay, there's unless he can make their hands that much better where they catch the balls that are thrown to them, they're just not that good in the secondary. They're not. Without having Catalon, without having Slusher back there, that's a lot. I mean, think about everything that they lost. They lost Greg Brooks. They lost Joe Fouché. They lost Ladarius Bishop, who's also injured. Ladarius Bishop started most every game last year. Not every game, but almost every game. And he's out for the season. You lost those two guys to transfer. You lost Monteric Brown to the NFL draft. You're just depleted there. The way to fix what you got going on in the secondary is to, help yourself in the transfer portal and recruit your way out of it. This is year 3 for Sam Pittman. This isn't a situation where I looked at Chad Moore's situation. I'm like, this guy has got to go. I mean, this is a disaster. They're not getting better. They're getting worse. They quit on him. They quit on their defensive coordinator. The coaches don't get along. There's fighting. I mean, it was awful. It was blatant to me that they needed a new head coach. That's not the case here, okay? Sam Pittman doesn't need to go here. Sam Pittman has breathed life back in the program. The players love him. They'll fight for him. He can recruit. He can build this program back up. It's just going to take a little bit of time. It just is. Now, healthy, if they get away, something that helped them big time last year, there's a good example. What helped them so much last year? One of the things was having so many super seniors come back for an extra year that otherwise would have been gone, and that really helped them from a depth standpoint. Okay? They don't have that so much this year, and they're not going to have it in future years either. They've got to help themselves through the transfer portal, build the depth, build it through recruiting, something sustainable long term. I know everybody wants it now. I want it now. You do too. It's just not realistic now. It's going to be easier, though, with the transfer portal. It's going to be easier. I think you maybe take more than what you thought in the portal this year and try to shore some things up. And if you got to pay them to do it, then that's what everybody's doing. Timothy David Long. Oh, we already read that. Read Landon Montgomery's, Paul Mitchell. Oh, there you go, Landon. Landon says, just feels like we lost that dog mentality we played with last year. Guys like Morgan leaving. Yeah, Morgan was a big. I think Morgan was the guy that kind of tied everything together on defense from a leadership standpoint. Jonathan Parker says, if we run the RPO, why don't they have that option at the goal line? Pittman said that wasn't the read on the goal line. I didn't like the goal line play. I didn't like the passes more than anything. I just felt like run. Like we keep talking about this offensive line. You got an all-SEC center up front. You got big backs. And I know they got stuffed on one of those runs, but to me, run the ball. And if that's how it doesn't work, then run it. Carl Krotke Crandall says, Trey, in your opinion, is Pittman too nice, fatherly as a coach? No, I don't think that's – I think the players like him. I think you kind of have to be that a little bit in this day and age because players can just get up and leave. We don't see the practices, but it feels like there's not enough stick with the carrot to address sloppy playing. I mean, he gets after him in practice. Paul, I think that's just on your end. You're the only one complaining about the audio. Everybody else has good audio. So maybe it's, I don't know, maybe turn your volume up. I don't know. One of the 5 best pass rushers in the nation was never used to rush the passer, head scratcher. I agree with that. They got to change that. They can't just do the drop 8. First of all, I mean, like, let's get as many secondary players on the field as possible and take away, the defensive line, the edge guys that have been so good. Let's put as many defensive backs out there as possible. Oh, yeah, we're depleted in the secondary with injuries. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Cliff Boy says, do you know if KB scripts his first 20 plays like Petrino on offense? Everybody scripts like the first 15 plays or so. Tim Buckhalter says, I haven't watched or listened to the last 4 weeks. Really appreciate your work and that of your team at HawgSports, but it's been too painful, even though I've been wary about the BYU game since the turnaround. Danny made a good point. This is our favorite time of year, and we have to remember that. I mean, Arkansas didn't go undefeated for the 53rd straight season. It's not working out the way we thought it was going to. There's still a lot of football left, and there's a very manageable schedule. They got to get healthy, get KJ back going. It's not a bad schedule to finish things out. The tough part, to me, is done. I'm not saying they're going to win all these, but individually you look at them, they should be right there on every single one of those games, if not winning pretty good. All right. I see more questions on there, but unfortunately, guys, we got off to a little bit of a late start. We got practice and everything to get to, too. So, yeah, that's it. I'm sorry we didn't do an extra long show today. We had to start 3 times. All right, everybody, I want to thank Danny West for joining us. I want to thank Andrew Ellis as well. Thank you, all of you, for being patient with us while we had our technical difficulties. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll be back with you guys on Thursday. We've got plenty of content coming throughout the week. We'll be back with you guys on Thursday. We'll have somebody from the BYU side of things to come on and talk with us, and Curtis Wilkerson will join as well. And, yeah, that'll be it. So until the primer, this has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.